Yes.
Let's do it.
You should all be seeing Goku's fist right now.
Okay. Well, anyway, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Smudcast number 601, Misunderstanding Dragon Ball, Volume 1. Now, I don't know how you go about misunderstanding Dragon Ball, whether it's the original Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Super or whatever. There's all kinds of flavors, which is possible to follow and lose track of and think it's something else. That is possible because there's so much of something. But the storytelling's pretty clear. And I don't think too many people are having problems digesting Dragon Ball and understanding what's going on. So,
Well, not fans that are dedicated to it, no, but it's like, and I mentioned this before, it's like it's a very specific divide that occurred around the time Dragon Ball came back. It's either A, fans that had only watched it back then on Toonami the one time, and that's it, and I'm kind of still in that camp, or B, people that became new to the series, that came to the series as new fans during that Renaissance period.
yeah.
Now, this is mainly towards fans, more casual fans that saw it back in Toonami that get things wrong when there's no excuse to just go back, watch it like more thoroughly, and then you just know like the actual context. It's a matter of like context being lost when situations like this happen.
Okay, well, let's just talk about the video. It came out last year in October. It has about 50,000 views. And it's from Geekdom 101, which has 754,000 subs. And as far as I know, it's a straight Dragon Ball channel. So,
If I remember correctly, one of the biggest Dragon Ball channels around right now.
yeah, so not sure why it's called Geekdom. It should just be called Dragon Ball Channel or Dragon Ball 101.
This was around he started around the time of like sometime before Resurrection F was released. So like, but he is a longtime fan of the franchise.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
There is some credit there.
Okay, so this is a 12-minute video. We're skipping the first 30 seconds because it's an ad. So let's just get right into it. Shouldn't be that bad. All right.
Yep.
We're all in the watch together. I can hear you well. Let's get going.
One of the problems that I've had when discussing opinions about Dragon Ball on the internet has been the fact that people tend to either overthink things or not think about things enough when it comes to this little franchise called Dragon Ball, whether it be the old stuff or the new stuff. People far too often want to play follow the leader instead of actually thinking for themselves and doing themselves the service of watching the series over again, paying attention this time as adults and remembering that it's actually a little bit better than you remembered it when you were a kid. Specifically, one point I want to bring up in this video, that'll be the topic of this video as a whole, is this idea that people have where they misunderstand certain feats of characters based on singular moments or singularities. For example, I have done numerous videos about Super Saiyan 2 Gohan's power and how he was much stronger than people understand. And I think that video got through to people. I think those who watched that video when I put it out were able to understand just how powerful Gohan was during that time period, and that even Super Perfect Cell, no matter what he could do, could just not match up to a complete full power Gohan in Super Saiyan 2. And don't forget, he was able to kill Cell with one arm. But we still have people saying that Goku could have gotten the job done, even though it was stated so many times in the series he couldn't have, by Goku himself. Goku had no chance against that version of Cell. And that wasn't even Super Perfect Cell. That was regular Cell. But they think that because Goku blew off half of his head, that...
Okay, so the argument is what? That Goku, at that time, with the Cell Saga, was not as strong as Gohan? Is that it? What are you saying?
Yes, because it with the Dragon Ball fandom in particular, it's almost exclusive to this fandom, where it's such an anomaly when it comes to going back and actually like double like people knowing the exact context. There's just that swath of people that just get it so wrong.
So
Even though it's very clearly stated that, like he's about to say here, it's very clearly stated by Goku himself that he was not strong enough against to beat Cell, which hence the plan of having Gohan do it, because he knew what they were getting into.
Yeah, I think that's what he just just said about it's already written there. It's basically it sounds like he put up the cartoon with the manga and the caption with the manga, and it basically said, yeah, we're basically telling you through these characters that it can't be done. So it's like the author is telling you, the reader, exactly what the situation is. So there can't be any misunderstandings, right?
And yet, again, there's this anomaly of there's still people that get it wrong despite it being so obvious. And to this day, I still don't understand why.
I seem to remember him blowing off Cell's head. What was it with a Kamehameha?
His entire upper half, but he is going to give an example of like Rusty said, like the foreshadowing of making these kinds of things clear ahead of time. Let's just let that play first.
Okay.
That Goku could have beat him with the warp Kamehameha.
That just makes no fucking sense.
Oh,
It's just
Jesus.
bullshit.
Even though they failed to understand that literally just a few episodes prior to this, Vegeta also blew off half his body with the final flash, and Perfect Cell proceeded to go finish him off with one elbow drop. So does that mean that Vegeta could have secretly beaten Cell?
Yeah, that's what I mean. They establish it ahead of time that, yeah, he's made up of the DNA of all the Z fighters, including Piccolo's regeneration. So if you're not thorough, you're not getting rid of this guy.
Need to aim better.
Which is what happened with Gohan when he unleashed literally all his power at once against Cell.
Okay.
So
could basically...
Goku,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, so Goku never actually fights him, though, does he?
No, they do fight.
Okay.
And the leading belief, and I think Vustard had mentioned this in an earlier Smudcast on Dragon Ball, that the idea was with Goku fighting Cell, the whole point was to give Gohan an idea of how Cell fights. Which, given how that fight transpired, you can definitely see that being the case.
This is while they're training in that was that room called again? The
hyperbolic time chamber.
Yeah, the time chamber where they one day is like 1 year or whatever, 1 hour, whatever it is.
In a very literal sense, yes.
Yeah, and then they come out and he's like, "Okay, Gohan, here you go."
Because they show the training, getting Gohan to go Super Saiyan, and then training up from there. And they even show Goku, tapping into the same power that Vegeta and Trunks do in this very fight against Cell, and immediately discerning that this is not going to be enough. Because the risk is too much with this form. We have to go beyond it. That's like foreshadowing for how Goku engages Cell later on by the time of the Cell games.
Okay.
People not think when they say these things. And the truthful answer is no. People oftentimes don't think enough about what they're saying, but they get into debates with somebody like me, and then when I make them look stupid, it becomes this victim card playing bullshit where I get labeled as somebody who's egotistical and whatnot. I've heard that so many times throughout the years. Not so much recently. And granted, maybe when I first started doing YouTube in the first couple years, maybe I was a little out of control, but I've changed a lot since then. And I've grown up a lot. So I'll admit that about myself. But if I'm going to hear that from somebody who I trust and respect, it's different than hearing it from somebody who just lost a debate to me on Facebook or on Twitter about Dragon Ball. Somebody who comes in to a gunfight with a knife. Don't come into a debate with me about Dragon Ball and expect to win unless you know what the hell you're talking about. And I'm not a power scaler, but I've proven for the past 6 years that I know what the fuck I'm talking about. The problem is that everybody wants to be a power scaler, but people look at...
Sorry, is this an argument? Like, what is he talking about?
Well, this is a matter of, if you're going to go into a debate with someone that knows better, for example, if someone it comes to you, a debate on anything, related to BioWare, for example, and you proved you're knowledgeable enough to clown on them, it's it's actually do your research.
Okay, but he's saying a power scaler, so that implies an argument.
No, he's discarding that.
Okay.
But did he just say he is that?
No, he said he's not a power scaler, but that he's proven that he does know what he's talking about. That's what he meant.
All right.
That's what he just said.
So the idea of a power scaler is he's comparing everyone's whatever power level in the show at a certain time and saying, well, this guy's clearly more powerful than that dude because of such and such. And that's pretty much the argument. And the argument would then be that Goku is on the same level, but for whatever reason couldn't defeat Cell.
Gigaman, are you familiar with this guy? Like, have you seen a number of his videos?
Yes, for the most part, he has a pretty good track record.
So when he says like he's really good at arguing, you agree with him?
I've seen it for myself. Yes.
Okay.
It might come off like a bit like standoffish here, a bit like I said earlier, like I said before we started. It might seem like he's talking down to fans, but
Yeah,
that's
it's a
just
little
because
egotistical.
it might sound that way, but it's just the fact that it's such an issue. The fact that there is just enough people that get this stuff wrong that even to this day this is still happening. Even though, again, like we've said earlier, it's like with the way Toriyama wrote the story, it's obvious that these kinds of details are obvious. The story itself, whether through the characters or through the feats that the characters may do, the intention is clear, and yet there's still people that get this wrong.
All right.
Everything so one-dimensionally, and they don't look at the different factors and variables that go into actual power scaling and actual study of the narrative of the series, not just the scaling part, but the actual narrative of the story and what's being told. And they oftentimes try to use these straw man arguments to make their points make sense, when literally anybody with a functioning human brain can debunk it literally in seconds. It's kind of frustrating, to be honest, which is why I don't get into many debates anymore with people, because there's no point. You can't fix stupid, you know what I mean? But luckily, most of you that follow me on this channel, you don't qualify as being this group of fan, but hopefully this video will get through to some of them, even though many of them will play the victim card again and say I'm being a dick. I'm really not being a dick. I just want you to think more. If me wanting fans to think more is a crime, then I'm guilty as charged. But back to the topic at hand. So people tend to often use what happens in a moment in the series and remove the information surrounding it, and thus removing context to try to justify their argument without looking for an actual accurate conclusion. The people who say that Goku could have killed Cell are ignoring statements from Goku himself multiple times saying he couldn't have. Context is very important when it comes to telling this story. It's the same argument that people have when they say that Trunks was stronger than Perfect Cell in their battle that they had after the fight with Vegeta, the one before the Cell games. When, as I said in my previous debunk video, that's also not true, because you can't take one manga panel out of context to justify your point when there are several other pages that prove otherwise, and I explained in that video what was going on. What this video is about is not so much power scaling, but more so about the singularities that make up one specific moment not really being relative to a power scale. For example, Krillin cut off Frieza's tail on Namek. Does that mean that Krillin is stronger than Frieza? This happened during Frieza's second form, at a fighting power of 1 million. If you are dumb enough to think this, that is the same logic you're applying to Goku's Warp Kamehameha, meaning that he's stronger than Cell. It's the same thing. He got a lucky shot. Same thing happened when Goku fought Broly in the 8th Dragon Ball Z movie. And before some moron says that's not canon, because I can smell you guys coming from a mile away with this bullshit, people who say that. Not everyone, just those who say that.
I have a question. The term strength or stronger seems to be used for various meanings. On the one hand, it's just pure raw battle power, and on the other is the character better at fighting than another? Because battle power alone doesn't overpower. It doesn't just mean that you will win. As we can see with either the lucky shot or how someone applies his power.
So it's like strength of mind, strength of body.
No, not strength of mind. Competence is relevant here. How you apply something, and I would like it if there would be more distinction in this, because since these battle power stats of 5,000, 9,000, a million are used, that's just raw power, and I can't even say strength because they're shooting around with energy nonsense.
Yeah, in Dragon Ball, at least for the sake of this argument, it is just overall battle power. And as far as the numbers go, the example he gave of second form Frieza being at 1 million, that like the number is ultimately irrelevant, but because even in the original manga, it was just to prove that he was that much stronger than everyone else.
Yeah, but that's still, if you are, you can still beat someone who has higher numbers than you if you apply what you have better than the other. That's what I mean. And that seems to be used interchangeably here, and that's why probably people get into arguments.
Fair point.
So it'd be like, if it was like a Dungeons and Dragons thing. Oh, I have a character who's got 20 strength, so he's going to beat everybody. It's like, well, my guy has 20 intelligence. So yeah, he's not going to overpower him physically, but...
Not necessarily.
No. Look.
Not really.
Okay, you have 20 strength. Or 20 dex. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't just... Look, I don't just have a higher roll on my d20 than you, and on my weapon dice, which is the luck factor. I also have prepared a strategy on how to deal with you, who is a higher level character than I am, because I'm that good. That's nothing. I have worse stats than you, but I act better. I use what I have at my disposal better than you, and that's why I beat you. That's the point. That's the point I'm trying to talk about. And I think because of that, people get into these stupid discussions of who is the stronger character, because they're not defining what they're talking about. Because they're on the one side they talk about these stupid numbers, while on the other side, they talk about, but this character beat that character, so he needs to be stronger. So they make the false conclusion that character must have higher numbers.
Right. This is what happens with those, was it Screw Attack? They do this character from this series versus that character from that
battle.
series.
Which, if I may say, before you continue, the next one is going to be a Dragon Ball focused one.
Okay.
What timing?
Well,
which is going to be the two fusions.
The thing is, they choose one specific version of, let's say, comic books like Thor or Wonder Woman or whatever, and they just
cherry pick.
They cherry pick. So when you have comic books, you have like all these versions of Thor and all these versions of Batman or whatever, and they say, well, this version of Batman wouldn't do that because he's just a guy. It's like, well, yeah, but this version of Thor is a literal god that is invincible and all this other stuff, and it's like, well, versus. I can't remember who Thor was up against. I think it was Raiden or something. And it's like, I think Thor lost, or it was like some ridiculous matchup, which didn't make any sense. And all the versions of Thor had some diversion or some version of a god that Raiden was also a version of a god. And it would just seem so ridiculous to start comparing these things when there's all these comic books of that version saying what their abilities are. So they do their research. They just miss the categories at times, or try apples to red oranges or something. They try to say it's the same and it's not. So it's that level of cherry picking that is like, okay, if you're gonna do that, then this is ridiculous. But they've done that with Goku and Superman a few times, I think. So it's like, all right, this is
with Goku. Well, with Superman, you can at least understand because there are just that many versions of Superman. They cherry picked him to hell.
Yeah. Right. So
the thing with Goku is the fact that, for the most part, it's always just been the one Goku. If just looking at everything Toriyama's had a hand in, which at this point the definitive Goku is Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super. Okay. So there's just the one version of Goku.
Something else he said along these lines is that often the people who are writing this will try to go with whatever's narratively pleasing.
You could say, because for a good chunk of it, Toriyama was just writing on the fly.
Yeah, so when they have these debates about strength and all that, ultimately, it's going to be written a certain way just so that the story can be, the story can be compelling.
Yes, but there is just enough so that you could also, if in a certain way, still quantify it so it does still make sense. which is what's lost to fans that don't have the full context.
I say the power scan visor thing.
That was always a joke.
It was a good joke for the moment, but it seems to, despite being a joke for the moment, just defining the entire series. Because why else would you be able to say that Cell had 1 million strength points?
If I remember correctly, the last time any official numbers were given in the original Toriyama story of Dragon Ball and Z, the last time I think was the end of the Frieza saga with Goku, with the final fight with Goku and Frieza. After that, they just completely stopped, and the joke was they killed the joke right then and there. And for funsies, they did it in Resurrection F just to like remember the numbers, remember how pointless they are, like that, you know.
Yeah, why does that not get through to the fans then?
At least the fans that don't bother doing the research. You are right. So I'm just like, again, it's such an anomaly where they don't look this shit up before they try to like argue their point, which is what the whole point of this video is.
Yeah, because look, the whole point, what every other story conveys, and what technically Dragon Ball also still somewhat conveys, is that you ever play chess? Or you know about chess?
Yes.
Which chess piece can the pawn beat?
All of them?
All of them.
Yeah. It's the weakest piece, but it can beat every other piece.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to use it right.
All right.
Exactly. The point is that Dragon Ball does give to at least to an extent does give you all the information. Like the example from before where Goku straight up says, "Yeah, I can't beat him. It has to be you, Gohan."
I think that's been my problem with it is they give you everything you need to know. And so it's like, so I'm just basically being told everything I need to know. There's nothing. Is there anything peripheral to figure out? Well,
they don't give you everything. They give you just enough, because I think the first time we ever saw Super Saiyan 2 was just a quick little 2-second tease during their 1-year training, and it was in question whether or not there would be a way to pull that power out to save the day, and it was only on the spot that it was discovered, yes, the power was able to be drawn out, and Gohan saved the day.
All right, here is the Copperal. Thanks, Copperal. That's with 5. Deadliest Warrior, I think that's a show or something, took weapons, armor, and tactics to account when trying to determine who would win, so especially the SS beat the IRA because they were soldiers. Okay, that's a really strange comparison, the SS to the IRA. The IRA was a rebel group in UK or Ireland. The Irish
I think, yeah.
Republic something or other. Yeah, I don't know my history with that very well, but yeah, obviously a military organization, or sorry, not the SS. The SS is a private task force from World War II with Germany, I believe. So, not necessarily the German military, though. I don't believe.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. Anyway, yeah, that there are shows out there that compare this and that, and I remember seeing one that was called Fight Quest, where they went to the different teachers of the same martial art, and they would fight each other. That was kind of cool. So
yeah,
there's a few shows out there that are neat to look at, but it's all pretty much demonstrative. It's not taken seriously. I don't think you want to all those dumb what's the best sword? Everyone talks about long swords and katanas and all these other things. It's like, well, war is war. You have a tactic for a certain defense and you use it. And that's that. You don't play around with what ifs and, well, if you had a cannon, I'd have a howitzer. It's like, okay, I guess that would win. Yeah.
Yeah, war is war, and then there's Metal Gear Solid, where war is just complete and utter madness. But yeah, now here's one from Kyogre's Hideout before you butcher it for the billionth time. I'm kidding. I do agree with Kyogre's Hideout. The problem isn't the regular fans, but rather the casuals. Yes, that is exactly the issue.
I think we could apply that to any argument with any fandom. It's the guys who know what they're talking about, and the guys who come in saying, well, this is what really happened, or this is what I think would happen. And everyone looks at him like, where are you coming from exactly?
Well, which one is often more vocal?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, this specific point, yeah, you can say it about any fandom. With Dragon Ball specifically, it is the fact that they tell you straight up how any specific thing works. We already got the examples earlier with Gohan and Trunks, where the manga just straight up gives it to you. It gives it to you straight. And the issue is that, yeah, like any other fandom, for example, like God of War or Devil May Cry or anything, it's right there for someone to look up. But for some reason, the casuals just don't do it for the sake of like validating their viewpoint.
They really assume it's just as simple as we just apply a hit point counter to anything at all, and just that's it.
What?
Like you just add a health bar to something, like that's what Nomura likes to do with some of his Final Fantasy stuff. Is there'll be a concept, and he just adds a health bar to it, and it says, "Here, defeat this by hitting it with your sword."
Not that silly, but it is easy enough to get a hold of the correct information. Like this very channel, for example. But anyway.
All right.
It doesn't matter. It's a point that needs to be made. Obviously, Goku by himself was not stronger than Broly. But with enough force, he was able to ruthlessly punch through Broly, and with the power of the other 4 friends helping him, let's not forget that, because without that he couldn't have won. Enough to send Broly away for at least, a few years till he came back. But so many fans have argued that it was the scar, and that Broly had some kind of weak spot on his stomach that happened from when he was a kid, when he got stabbed, that Goku was able to exploit, which I also debunked on a previous edition of Dragon Ball Mythbusters right here on the channel. So we have here 2 examples of both extremes. We have one side that's taking things out of context, and we have another side that's adding more context with not enough evidence. It doesn't make any logical sense that this guy has a weak spot of a scar that he had when he was a kid, when he's a guy who's going around obliterating, parts of galaxies and things of that nature. He's annihilating planets with ease, this guy. And you're going to sit here and tell me that he has a little baby scar that Goku was able to punch and beat him with one shot? It makes no sense. It was never once talked about in any of the Takao Koyama interviews. It wasn't even brought up in the film itself or even hinted at. It's just something that fans made up to justify Broly losing that fight. Broly fans made that up, basically.
That's like saying that the reason why Mass Effect 3 ended the way it did was because of indoctrination theory. So, with me saying that just gives you an idea of how stupid this point about Broly is.
Oh boy, my brain just went, whoa.
It's basically that same level of stupid just applied to this one character here.
So just headcanon things away.
Yeah.
Yes. That's literally what it is.
Yeah, it boils down to that. How did he lose? Oh, he must have had a weak spot on his body somewhere. It's like, what? Okay.
I was thinking of an analogy for that is the Hobbit. You can kill Smaug because he actually has that weak spot, But Bilbo figures that out, tells the bird tells Bard, and then Bard takes advantage of that.
For context, to expand on the description he gave for this fight. This is the original Broly movie, the Legendary Super Saiyan. This is in the final battle where the other 4 people that Goku was with, Piccolo, Vegeta, Trunks, and young Gohan, were all obliterated by Broly, and Goku's the last man standing. So,
can you just Hokuto Ken the enemy until the weak spot appears, and there is no Ken the weak spot.
There is no weak spot. That's
why you Hokuto no Ken until the weak spot appears.
Well, the way it actually happened in the movies, because Goku was the last man standing, and the other 4 decided to give their energy, their ki, to Goku, and he focused it all into that one punch that went right through Broly. That's what happened. There's nothing about scar.
Yeah.
There's no scar or anything that stayed there. That healed ages ago.
Yeah, he's not an R-type villain where you knock off his armor and then it reveals the core, and then you have to shoot the core.
And again, the canon argument, like you said earlier in the video during the segment, that ultimately doesn't matter, because no matter where you go, within the self-contained continuity of the 13 Dragon Ball Z movies, it has always been stated that that this Broly, legendary Super Saiyan Broly, is one of the most powerful villains in that entire arc, in that entire self-contained universe. So just for this guy to have a weak spot, for the headcanon of this guy still having that little baby scar weak spot to justify him losing, and again, like you said, the Broly fans made that up. It's just stupid. Again, it's on the level of indoctrination theory. It's that kind of brain-dead headcanon.
All right.
But anyway.
Around this fandom a long time. I've seen where things come from and where they go. And it's just one of those things where the more and more time passes, the more I wonder about people. And I encourage people to go back and rewatch Dragon Ball again. I say this a lot. You need to rewatch it again now with grown-up eyes. Some of you guys have not seen this show since you were kids. And this is a kid's show, make no mistake. And I understood this when I was 13 years old. And it never ceases to amaze me that so many people don't as grown-ass adults. This is a very simple show to understand. But you're going to have your debates. And there's nothing wrong with having debates, but I feel like you always have to find a balance between too much context and not enough context when it comes to characters and how they're supposed to behave and how they're supposed to be. I'm reminded of the people who actually believe, not memeing or trying to be funny, who actually believe that Piccolo was more so Gohan's dad than Goku was. You know, those people blow my mind because, again, either they're just people who haven't seen the series in a very long time, or they misremember things, or they are just following memes created by parody groups like Team 4-Star and not realizing it's just a joke. Or they'll go on Facebook and they'll see some cringe meme or some cringe post from somebody on...
Well, that's the point of memes. The memes become the reality. That was the whole abridged Dragon Ball, was that Gohan was always spending time with Piccolo to the point that they was pretty much listened to him more than his dad did.
I've seen the phenomenon he's talking about, though. I was going to say the where people actually watch the abridged stuff or the parody stuff, and it's obviously not supposed to be taken seriously, but they will cite it as if somehow it's like watching CinemaSins. It's like, oh, I watched this on CinemaSins. Yeah. Therefore, that's actual criticism. It's not,
Exactly.
It's entertainment purposes, and the people who know the show probably enjoy it more. The people who don't know the show watch that and say, oh, I get the comedy anyway. It must be true. It's like, well, that's not what's going on there.
Yeah, that's not the only factor.
Right. So abridged means exactly that. Abridged, you're cutting stuff out and you're focusing on a parody video. So that's not the same as the primary source.
Exactly.
There, and they'll think it's actually worthy of being discussed or worthy of being entertained when it's complete nonsense. There's so much evidence in the series that Gohan had a much closer connection to Goku and even his mother Chi-Chi than he did anybody else, with the exception of maybe Videl once they met and got married, and of course his daughter Pan, with Piccolo being the first member of not his immediate family that he cares about the most. Piccolo is more like an uncle to Gohan than a father figure. Yes, he took care of him for 1 year. Actually, less than 1 year, because if you remember, he put him out into the wild for several months. And yes, they did bond, but not to the level of Goku and Gohan, who spent much more time together. Much more time together. Not just in training, but just in casual quality time. I just want people to be better. I just want people to understand this stuff better and to appreciate it more. Because, goddamn, I love this series a lot. And I think if people watched it start to finish in Japanese and really learn these characters and learn how things worked and understood the series more, you would like it and appreciate it as much as I do.
I've noticed that how much has changed between the Japanese and English dub?
In the original dub, too much to say in this Smudcast. That dub was so, at the very least, inaccurate.
Do you think that has contributed to people just misunderstanding the series?
It absolutely has. Speaking from experience, it has. Which is why it is a big deal that it's mainly because the fact that early Funimation was such a disorganized company. It's like, at least with Dragon Ball specifically, Dragon Ball Z, they changed that script so much it is almost indistinguishable from the original. One of the changes that comes to mind immediately is the whole. You remember, like, during the fight, Goku versus Frieza, like the whole ally to good nightmare to you. They really tried to push the idea of Goku being pretty much the Japanese Superman when that was not the original intention.
All right, here's another super chat from the Copper Owl. Sorry, it was Spetsnaz versus the IRA. Okay, that's a bit different. And the SS versus the Viet Cong. Wow, what a strange comparison. I don't think I'm that experienced in my military history to know the difference between any of those groups, but thanks for the clarification either way. So there we go. Thank you, Mr. Copper Owl. And here's Todd Howard. Wow, what's Todd Howard doing on the chat? Thanks for that $10.
It just works.
It just happens. Yeah. Hey guys, how you doing? I wanted to dedicate this super chat to Whisp. I guess I have to give you $10, Whisp. I don't know.
What? No. The station.
No. I'll have to get. Had a lot of fun.
Sorry.
Had a lot of fun tearing into Wokarok.
God of War Ragnarok.
Okay, cool. With
I call it Ragnar Woke.
That's good, Wagner.
Tearing into Ragnarok and EFAP with you today. Did you have a conversation with him today?
Was Wisp
okay?
EFAP or
it's Wisp. With Wisp.
I was not.
Or...
They would not let me on because I hate Buffy.
I don't know.
Probably. Maybe if I made a video about how bad Buffy actually is. No, we talked about apparently EFAP covered a video of a guy who didn't like Ragnar Woke, and the video itself is mostly on point, I would say. He's even giving leeway to the gameplay, but the writing is ass, and he's not even going remotely beneath the surface of how bad the writing really is. I'd say Ragnar Woke is the TLJ of God of War. And EFAP is defending the game for some inexplicable reason and just shitting on the guy from takes from his streams instead of covering the actual video. I don't know.
So are we talking about...
I guess they have beef. I guess it's just beef.
Are we talking about the EFAP show or the EFAP server? Like, what happened there?
No, there's this EFAP 217, I think, is the thing,
okay,
where they rip into a compilation that Mauler cut together of his stuff. And I'm sorry, but even if the guy says a few dumb things, that seems very disingenuous and low. And the arguments made in that EFAP episode are quite bad.
Really?
Hawk is going on all day about an argument Rags made that is on the level of Space Wizards.
Wizard did it.
It's Patrick Willems' level of stupidity.
Yeah.
He said something along, I haven't played the game. I will never play a God of War game. But I really like the characters.
What?
Something. So, yeah, what the fuck?
Well, to him, I say, get the fuck out of here, then.
So that's enough to like a thing. You never have played the actual thing or watched all the things. Like maybe he has watched the playthrough of Ragnar Woke and liked the story and characters, and then I have to question your competence, honestly.
Oh.
But yeah, fuck off. Just no, not this. If you like this, and they complain that no, it's not woke. The game literally complains about Odin being a financial imperialist.
Yes, that hurt.
And Mimir praises the author of that, a female dwarf, of course, that you never meet. Who's writing all of this very impressive theoretical stuff, and he thinks that she may be his equal, if not even smarter than him.
All right.
So, he's just talking about a socialist propagandist.
Okay. Well, let's not bash EFAP until we actually watch the the video.
Yeah.
Let's find out what that's about.
Chat has been going on a lot today about that. That's EFAP. You had higher standards. Please go back to them where we liked you.
Wisp, I was thinking about doing a narrative kind of breakdown of both God of War games. If you have any ideas, I'd be interested in hearing them.
Both? You mean the northern ones?
The Norse.
Yes, both Norse God. Because I think the writing is pretty abysmal. I think what people are kind of attracted to, whereas the voice actors, which the voice acting is excellent in the game. It's just the narrative
wasted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Christopher Judge he makes a great Kratos.
Yeah,
that's good.
And for the record, Wisp, if the name Mace Crumdew sounds familiar, that's Todd Howard in the Smudboy server.
Okay. Hello.
Right.
I've had a conversation with. Well, we could talk about it later.
Yeah, we could definitely watch a few clips, or we even make Wisp. I don't know what parts of the video, because that's a long. EFAPs are long, right? So if you would,
I am not. Ken has made some clips of the EFAP, and I haven't seen the EFAP. I do not have the nerves for that right now. I have too much going on outside here off computer.
Yeah.
That this is painful shit. Okay.
Yeah.
I need extra nerves to deal with the actual painful shit. I just played through Bayonetta 3.
Not again.
And I would have liked to be able. No, not just now. Back then, when it came out.
Yeah.
It was hell. I would have liked to have the brain to make a video about that. Other people have done that by now, but I would have really liked to vent my frustrations and about all that is wrong about that game into a more concise video. I've had a I think 7-hour long conversation with Black Jacket and Horned Rabbit, who have played the old Bayonettas pretty excessively and watched me play through Bayonetta 3 on my little place channel thing. But 7 hours is too long. But we went through over, I think, let's say 98% of what you can say about these things.
All right. Well, I'm gonna bug Ken, see if he has any clips, and see if I can get that going with him. Because if he's already done it, we'll just put them together, and I will ask whoever is involved for their arguments, and we'll get that going. That's not a big deal. It's not hard to do. So,
yeah.
All right. Let's continue on with the Dragon Ball video.
A lot of you who have been watching me do. Some of you guys are getting there. Some of you guys aren't there at all. Some of you guys are new. So if you are new to the channel, subscribe if you want more content like this, because I've got lots of videos discussing my thoughts on Dragon Ball and my thoughts on fandom going forward. I don't hate the fandom. I just want them to be better in the way they analyze things, because every day I wake up and I see at least one or two cringe opinions to where the old me would jump in there and correct them, but the new me just closes the app and says,
how long has this guy been doing this? Because I've gotten this before I went to YouTube, and
since early 2015.
Yeah.
Wait, is that a phrase people are just throwing around anymore? Be better. Just be better.
Well, not in the way that we've been hearing it in other ways, in other places.
Yeah. In context, it's fine, and the way he says it, he's not doing this imperative be better. He wants people to improve. That's a different thing from socialists spouting their propaganda and yelling be better, by which they mean adhere more to our dogma. It's a different thing.
Yeah, like all the things I like and dislike all the things I dislike.
Yeah, whereas people like Geekdom say be better in the sense of just watch it again so you can get the context.
That's I know the way he's saying it is not the most articulate or intelligent. This is something that
it is very blunt. I'll grant you. Yes.
Yeah, this is something that you would have dealt with, the first week hearing these arguments. You're like, this is silly. I'm not going to waste time.
Well, then again, when he started in 2015, this wasn't that much of an issue. It's only recently, like we've mentioned in other Smudcasts, when by the time Dragon Ball got the ball rolling again in terms of popularity, like I mentioned before, like all the articles that pop up of people that fake being into the franchise, but they don't know jack.
Yeah.
Whereas people like Geekdom, it's like they give you the facts. It might sound like it's like we've said, it sounds blunt.
Yeah, I think.
But It's because this has been happening for years.
I think Rusty has the point that they focus on headcanon so much that they have this whole narrative built in their head that does not exist, and you sit there going, where are you getting all of this nonsense from, which has nothing to do with the story or the game or whatever. That's where I've encountered a lot of, and that's where you just say, I can't even, this is all bunk. Like, there's nothing to talk about. So I think that's what he's realizing. He's going, oh, these people, they make stuff up. I can't deal with it. I'm not going to bother.
Yeah, that is what it is. That's why, like, earlier in the video, he said he stopped debating people for that very reason.
Yeah, it just sounds very like, first time doing something sort of mistake. It's like, yeah, don't even bother. Anyway, no big deal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm out of here because the snowflakes of the world may tell you otherwise, but the reality is that when you do not have full context of something, or when you don't have any context, yes, there is such thing as a wrong opinion. Those do exist. And you can have better opinions, smarter opinions, at least more well-informed opinions if you study the material more deeply. That's what I'm here to do, but I always encourage you to do the same. I love you, take care of yourself and each other, and watch more Dragon Ball. And watch more of me.
Watch more Dragon Ball.
All right. And there you go, we're done.
All right, pretty simple video, nothing spectacular. Yeah, he's just fed up with people headcanoning stuff. He's like, okay.
Yeah, very, very direct, very blunt. But at this point in 2021, when the video came out, it really can't be helped.
Yeah, I guess. Well,
like the casuals headcaning, I mean, that it can't be helped at this point.
Sure. Okay, fair enough. Not much to say. Most of our interest, we like the original Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Z was pretty cool, and that's where our interest sort of stopped for the most part.
Yeah.
I think the Broly movie was pretty good. Did a good job.
And the amount of times we've mentioned how many people have dropped off during the Buu saga.
Oh yeah, for sure. So
for the most part, they just basically retelled the same story over and over again, right?
Well, that's mainly the games.
Well, okay.
A lot of fans nowadays, myself included, came from the Toonami run and the games, and I will admit that. But I've yet to rewatch the series, like Geekdom suggested. But I at least look into things more, so that I don't get shit dead ass wrong.
Yeah.
My only familiarity, and that's even just a few episodes, was the Frieza saga. That's all I got.
Right. Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. I mean, people like shows to a point. The manga is fine. It's the same content. It's not overtly violent because obviously it's just pages and there's not much happening in terms of action. But there's a lot more exposition, I would say, of characters doing things. But the show follows the manga fairly well. So it's not like 100%, but 90, 80%, I'd say is accurate. So you're not missing too much. But I'm more of a reader than a watcher for manga and anime. But,
fair point.
Yeah, but it's Akira Toriyama. He's still kicking. If we could get him making more video games, I think I'd be happier. But whatever he wants to do, good for him.
It's like he definitely did get more involved in the franchise by the time the infamous Dragon Ball Evolution came out.
Yeah.
We all want to forget that.
Well,
but if I think a friend of mine said it in another server, it's like if we can give Evolution credit for anything, it definitely got Toriyama to get off of his ass and actually get involved again.
If only he get hired by Square Enix again to do something not Dragon Quest, I think that'd be good. Something else.
Chrono 3 is never going to happen, Smut. Get over it.
I know. That will never happen. But put him in something. Give him something. Give him a blank piece of paper. I don't care. Just put him in a room with a bunch of game devs and a musician, and I'll be happy. Just whatever you come up with, just do it.
I think he was involved with the Kakarot game, at least a little bit. But that's still Dragon Ball, so we can set that aside.
Yeah.
But anyway,
something new, please. Something new, Kira, please.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that was a pretty short Smudcast, but thanks a lot for being here and rambling on about this YouTuber who, I mean, he loves Dragon Ball. Obviously, he's going to have very strong opinions on that. That's good for him. I'm going to go talk to Ken because you guys know more about this EFAP episode than I do. So hopefully we'll find out what was going down there, because usually EFAP is pretty close. And outside of some guess,
that's been a long time.
It's been a while. Yeah.
I really loved that that show until a certain point, and then I was like, what is this? What is going on? What is this drivel? Sad.
It's been a while. Yeah, I have to watch a few episodes to see what's going down, but I will talk to Ken. Hopefully he'll give me some information and some videos to watch. That'd be great. So thank you guys. Under an hour. Look out. Thanks Rusty for popping in. That was nice of you. And,
no problem.
Gingaman, as always, thanks for was this the recommendation from you, or is this from the actual Democrat?
This was from me.
I thought so. Okay. All right. Okay. Anyway, guys, keep the suggestions coming. I'm slowly getting the games. We keep getting votes on the game listings to make for our website. I haven't just got around to it. It's been very busy this past week, so hopefully I'll get something ready up for that. But once the poll is closed, then that'll be that. But we're still getting votes, which is surprising because I thought it finished back in November, but it's not. So keep voting, I guess. We'll see next week what happens. And keep suggestions coming for the show. As always, have a great evening. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Night.
Bye-bye. It's over 8,000.
What?
Game suggestions?
It's at the